when we're looking at the quarterback position for Superflex leagues, is it Allen still 1-1?
I think it's hard to get away. It's either Allen or Hurts. It's hard to get away from
Oh, you
that
think
tier.
Hurts is that high?
Well, I mean, I'm of the mind that the increased ability for the offense to score points will offset the loss of Jason Kelsey for the tush push. Those guys had over 30 combined touchdowns last year. Like they have a long way to fall to not be worth the top 2 pick.
Yeah.
There's just the thing is it's like you think about them going back to the pack. Josh Allen has question marks. Jalen Hurts also has question marks. Patrick Mahomes now has more question marks. So it's like they all just kind of took a little step back to the pack, but I still think it's hard to go away from your favorite of Allen or Hurts at 101.
My thing about Hurts is the OC situation they have in Philadelphia. So that's what's throwing me off. I actually have him 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 or 8 on my list. So I have Allen number 1, followed then Lamar and CJ Stroud, basically.
Okay.
Of a pick 'em as your next 2. Then I got Mahomes at 4 for the sheer fact of consistency. Maybe not. He might not be a top 5 in scoring at the end of the year, but there's never going to be a week where he lets you down. And I feel like when you're drafting a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round in a super flex league, I would almost rather have consistency rather than like a guy like who I have shortly after that, Anthony Richardson, who can go get you 43 one week, but maybe not even
super flex. You might be able to snag both. So it's like I want my bread and butter so I can go after the fireworks, right?
Yeah. And Patrick Mahomes, everybody was all up in arms last offseason. He was quarterback 10.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't kill you. Like was he worth a top 3 pick? Maybe not, but he wasn't the reason that you lost.
I took him 1-1 and I didn't make the playoffs, but I had a lot of other issues.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can overcome that. That's the thing, I had a draft where I had the 1st round pick, and literally 2 minutes after I made my 1st round pick of Jordy Nelson, he tore his ACL, and I still made the playoffs. So you could still overcome that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Just looking at like the difference here, because what I've got up on screen is over at our website, shaving-points.com, for free, so you can go play with it if you would like. But the ADP versus our ranking, which our rankings are literally just based on consolidation of like PFF's projections, ESPN's projections, Fantasy Pros projections, and a few other websites. And the ADP I'm seeing here for like CJ Stroud versus his projected numbers doesn't make a lot of sense. Like he's going number 8 overall. His projected numbers have him as like what, QB 7 or 8 here.
Yeah, like I have Stroud in that 2 to 3 spot for me as far as ranked quarterbacks go, but I think if I'm building a board for Superflex, I'm not taking him top 8. I think if I'm in a Superflex this year, I might not even go quarterback round 1. I would be completely fine waiting until 2 or 3 and grabbing a Kyler Murray, a Jared Goff, Jared Love, even a Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, wherever he's falling.
I mean, he's going at 36 ADP in Superflex, but
you mentioned 2 of my favorite picks there. I love Kyler. I actually have Kyler above Lamar and Anthony Richardson. I have him at 4, and I've got Jaden Daniels at 13, and that might change. Like that might be too low. Those are some great picks if you want to skip the 1st round. I think if you're picking late in the 1st round, you can skip a quarterback and get a Kyler in the 2nd. I think that's entirely possible.
I think that's what I'm going to be looking at in my Superflex leagues is letting the quarterbacks fly off the board early. Hopefully, grab a Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown type guy in the 1st, and then taking a Kyler, even a Tua. He doesn't really have the running, but I mean, he's going to put up numbers in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caleb Williams, I think, is going to be a steal if you can get him past 30, 35.
Yeah, I think Caleb is he's set up almost as well as we see guys like Brock Purdy or CJ Stroud, where people talk about like even if the player struggles, the weapons will carry him.
Well, we talked about it. It's the best supporting cast for a rookie quarterback since Dak Prescott 2016.
Yeah,
according to PFF.
His 5th target's what? Mike Gesicki. Like that guy started in the NFL. You know, DeAndre Swift. Like he's got weapons.
Yeah.
They've set him up.
DeAndre. I mean, we'll talk about it in the draft. I think DeAndre Swift is the most criminal ADP right now in all of fantasy football. Ooh. I think his ADP is in the 50s. I have him top 25.
Okay.
I have him top 20.
When you said criminal, I was curious which direction, because I'm like, criminally high? Is DeAndre Swift the criminal, or who's the criminal in this?
No, I want to say he was 54 when I looked earlier. I don't actually have the ADPs in front of me. Q might be able to pull it up for us. But yeah, I have him 19 on my big board.
Yeah, wow. His ADPs were just straight from PFF, so I do not know how much they may have changed.
My big board is half PPR, no Superflex. So I don't have a quarterback.
He was going at 80 as of a week ago, according to
80
in Superflex. In Superflex,
I love DeAndre Swift in this. Yeah, so bump him up 30 spots or 15 spots, I guess. So
let me see where I think I got him in the 10th round in Scott Fishbowl. Which obviously isn't the same score, isn't standard scoring, but yeah, I think I got him in the 10th round.
Jeff, can you explain to me what Scott Fishbowl is? Because I see it every year, and I just am clueless as to what it even is.
You got to get in on it. So what it is it's an annual charity. It's through Scott Fish. He's the person who it's named after. It's his brainchild, and they pair with Fantasy Cares, and it's to raise money to every live draft has its own charity, but the main thing is for Fantasy Cares, and they do, I believe it's going to be the same as it's been the last couple years, where they all the money collected through t-shirts, like I'm wearing a Scott Fishbowl shirt right now, through donations, through all this stuff, they go to get kids Christmas presents, underprivileged children, and it has different scoring settings every year, and I think it's up to like 300 different leagues. So it's like this year it's tight end premium, there's return yards points, there's points for first down. It's every year the scoring settings are different, and it's a lot of fun. Like I do the live draft in San Francisco every year.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I got him in the 10th round as I was filibustering. DeAndre Swift 1002.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not going to take him at that 19 spot, but
yeah,
I'm going to be looking to scoop him up way before the 10th, because I think that offense, I mean, with those receivers and that offensive line they have and Caleb Williams, it's a dream scenario for a guy like DeAndre Swift.
It's going to happen.
I thought
when you have that much offense, when you have that much offensive talent on one team, it's just going to be good.
Yeah, it raises the floor of everybody.
I thought he was gonna shine last year in Philly, and that offense just fell apart down the stretch. But he showed flashes of what I think he will be in Chicago early in the season, and
he's showed enough to get $8 million a year.
Yeah. Well, when he was healthy in Detroit, he was a monster, and
he's lighter right now too. He's lighter.
Jahmyr Gibbs was
like 3 or 4 years.
Jahmyr Gibbs was my favorite running back going into that draft, and I thought they were crazy for taking Jahmyr Gibbs and moving on from DeAndre Swift, but
I think that he said something like he is like 15 or 20 pounds lighter than he was in Detroit. Like, and when I heard that, I just got this image of Matt Patricia just like shoveling food in him. Like, you gotta be bigger.
Yeah.
Him and Big Dom hanging out after games, getting cheesesteaks and stuff.
Yeah, getting chicken cutlets every day.
Yeah.
Any other quarterbacks y'all want to talk about if we're doing in a super flex? Anybody? Like, I don't think there's any problem waiting on a Stafford. I think Stafford's going 7th, 8th round, even in super flex leagues. I love Stafford or Rodgers or Justin Herbert.
Bet on. I think Aaron
Justin Herbert's even going down.
Well, he's injured now too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a foot issue. Yeah, he's got a plantar fascia issue on his foot. Stafford's one of my favorite late quarterbacks because of various injuries. Like Kyron, Puka, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford only played 8 games together, I think, last year, and in those games he was quarterback 10. Yeah. So when they're all fully healthy, it's a good problem to have. I also really like Jared Goff. He throws more than almost as much as anybody else.
You don't got to tell me about loving Jared Goff in fantasy.
I mean, it's a steal, especially in a 2 quarterback league. If
Jared Goff is almost my second quarterback almost every year in a Superflex league.
Yeah,
he's
money.
he's there forever, and then at the end of the year he's like QB 8 to 12.
Yeah, and he doesn't take hits. Like he protects himself.
And he's always gonna be around that top 10 range, like no matter what. And you can always get him as like the 25th quarterback off the board.
Kirk Cousins feels reliable to me, and the range that he's going at 67. I mean,
yeah, Kirk Cousins the same way. The ones that people just don't think about, like Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff.
You want to go full sicko, you could take a look at Will Levis and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, if you
like to live on the wild side,
if you like to run 3 QBs, I usually don't get a third QB unless somebody just like sitting there. Like last year, I think Baker in the 12th round after I had Mahomes and Dak, I believe, and then I wasn't looking at quarterback at all. And Baker was just sitting there in the 12th, and I'm like, well,
so
that's not the worst for a third option.
If you just completely screwed up and say that, like, every other team basically already had 2 quarterbacks and you're down to like the 25th quarterback, who are you targeting?
I'm double tapping the Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that option too. Yeah. I wouldn't hate. And I tell people all the time, I mean, if we're talking Superflex for a minute, don't be scared to just load up on receivers and run a receiver in that Superflex spot. I mean, it doesn't have to be quarterback. That's why it is what it is. It's not a 2 quarterback league. And I've been in leagues where I didn't like how early quarterbacks were going, and I just loaded up on receivers, and I did completely fine, because if you have 4 top 10 receivers starting every week, like, you don't need a second quarterback.
And I mean, with the variance at receiver right now and how much talent there is, like, you can stumble into a top 10 receiver on accident late in the draft, I feel like.
Absolutely, yeah. So definitely don't panic on
guys.
If you think QBs are going way too quick and often, and people are already doubling up on QBs in the 3rd, 4th round, just keep grabbing receivers, keep grabbing running backs. Like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I lit the, if that happens, I make sure I get 1. So I'm not totally screwed.
Yeah, and that's where you grab like a Jared Goff or a Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins, and then maybe grab a backup that you like. Like, I think JJ McCarthy would have been perfect in that scenario before he went down. But maybe a backup that you like, somewhere like a Justin Fields or something like that you think might have a good chance to start later in the season. Like, you'll be in good shape.
Little Aiden O'Connell, little Gardner Minshew.
And that's another thing too, is even if the quarterback's not good, as long as they're producing, that's all that matters. I won a league that I missed most of the draft, and my QB2 ended up being a mix of Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston that year, where they combined for like 5,500 passing yards between them. So like, use your roster spots. That's why I'll double tap the Steelers. If they go back and forth, I'll still have a starting quarterback all year long,
Joe Flacco saved me last year in a league.
Oh man, Joe Flacco saved so many people last year.
And don't be the guy with 3 tight ends on his roster either.
No.
Never.
No. Don't do that.
We had a guy a couple years ago take 4 tight ends, and he had 4 tight ends by like the 6th round. And I don't think any of them, because he didn't grab a Kelsey or an Andrews.
Got to corner the market, brother.
This is 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't think he had a single tight end at the end of the season in the top 10.
Yeah.
Came in dead last.
Yeah. Either take a stud or don't take any till round 10 or later and take 2. And that's the entirety of the strategy.
The whole draft he was talking, come to me if you need tight end. Come to me if you need tight end. Nobody ever came to him.
Yeah. No. I ain't gonna work, dude.
I will say I have had underdog like best ball leagues where I'm like, this ain't going the way I want it to, and I can just start cornering the market on quarterbacks right now, and I'm just gonna do that. It's working out. I've won leagues that way in underdog.
You're like, if I'm not gonna win, at least I'm gonna piss everybody off.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know you. I'm an underdog. I'm never gonna talk to you.
Last year in our Delta Chi league, Travis Kelsey was my first round pick. I think I picked like 8 or 9, and then he didn't play week 1, and I picked up Sam Laporta before the first game of the season, and I was starting Sam Laporta in my flex with Travis Kelce at my tight end almost all season.